Very few organizations survive long enough to celebrate nearly 3 decades of consistent impact. To remain relevant for 27 years in the conservation space through changing governments, shifting donor priorities, evolving climate realities, and growing community needs requires more than resilience. It speaks of purpose, trust, and an ability to adapt while staying true to a mission. This year, the Environmental Conservation Trust of Uganda, ECOTRUST, marks 27 years of community-led conservation, restoration, and innovative conservation finance. Over the years, the organization has worked alongside thousands of rural households, helping restore degraded landscapes while improving livelihoods through nature-based solutions and carbon financing. Today, in this Green Exclusive conversation, we sit down with ECOTRUST's Executive Director, Pauline Nantongo Kalunda, to reflect on the organization's 27-year journey, the milestones, the challenges, the lessons learned, and the future of conservation in Uganda as communities increasingly become the frontline custodians of nature. My name is Joshua Kagoro. Pauline, many thanks for allowing to talk to us, and congratulations to you and the entire ECOTRUST family on this important milestone. 27 years, what a journey.
Thank you very much. 27
years is a remarkable milestone. When you look back to 1999 when you started, what story best captures ECOTRUST's journey from where it started to where it is today?
It's been an exciting journey. By the time ECOTRUST started, I was just joining the work world. And there was all these dreams. It used to be grants management unit of USAID. It was phasing out. The stakeholders requested for it not to be phased out. Even the mere fact that the stakeholders requested that this unit not be phased out, it was already appreciated as a very important unit. But when it was converted into a Ugandan organization, then you're back into the dynamics that every Ugandan organization faces. So it was converted from a former grants management unit of USAID to a Ugandan organization, but with no money. So it had to go through the same things that all new organizations go through, coming up with innovative ways of mobilizing financing. There was some good days, because as soon as we started, USAID gave us some $5 million to start with, but that was it. So $5 million after 4 years, then the real work started, so to speak. But it's been an exciting journey because we've never been out of business. Even when the first initial fund started, the organization never went out of business. It could have gone out of business, but it never went out of business. And that was because it was already built for resilience. It was built for resilience. The structures, the constitution, the charter of the organization already built it to be able to thrive through the good and bad times. Now, over the years, the organization has been able to come up with a resilient model, a model that is based on landscape restoration as a business. It's a model that is not dependent on one source of funding. It's a model that is driven by the market. So it was one of the pioneer organizations that went into nature-based markets, being able to support smallholder farmers to access the carbon market. We've been participating in the carbon market for more than 25 years. You know, the world has just woken up to carbon offsets and carbon markets as a major tool for climate mitigation and so on and so forth. But we've been at it for more than 20 years. So it was built as an organization that is able to see opportunities, to see very unique opportunities that are able to make nature investable. So the farmers, the communities, the local communities, and the partners that we work with them for a very long term. Regardless of normally the structure of donor funding. So that journey that we have been through has been able to craft a business model that is able to withstand the shocks in the financial market, in the climate market, in the nature market, or in changes of in constitution, changes in policies. So it's a resilient organization.
Looking back to nearly 3 decades, what are the 3 milestones that make you proud, and why do they matter to Uganda's environment and communities?
I could say the 3 milestones come from the innovation, the impact, and the stewardship. From the innovation, being able to come up with a model that enables mobilization of financing from traditional and non-traditional sources, able to access public and private philanthropy, but also able to mobilize to generate our own income as an organization, to the point that we've established an endowment fund. So from that innovation, but also from the stewardship, every dollar that we mobilize from from every dollar that we mobilize from donors, we are able to mobilize at least $6 more from private sector. On top of that, we are also able to mobilize or to generate $2 more from our internally generated revenue. So that model of stewardship, we are good stewards. If you remember that story in the Bible, that have given talent, and if you're able to invest that talent and mobilize more, so even more will be given unto you. So that story of stewardship, but also the story of impact. We operate in 5 landscapes, and like I said, every landscape that we enter into, we never leave. So we are active in 5 landscapes in Uganda. We've been able to, for those 27 years, we've been able to work with about 54,000 households that we can track with a GPS. We can show you the bare lands that have now turned into tropical high rainforests. So the story of restoration. Within those years, we've been able to have verifiable emission reduction. 7 million tons of carbon dioxide have been sequestered by the forests that we have planted over the years. The communities that we work with have more than 200 businesses that are run by the communities. Some are microfinance institutions, some are businesses that produce and export honey, some are into the management of what we call the Shea Parkland. So we have many, we are proud of our impact, the 5 landscapes, the 7 million tons of carbon dioxide that we have removed from the atmosphere as climate change mitigation, the 55,000 households that we work with, and the 200 group businesses that we run.
Conservation has changed significantly over the years. How has ECOTRUST evolved to respond to these challenges such as climate change, biodiversity, and increasing pressure on natural resources from your end?
So the way we locate our projects or programs is to optimize on biodiversity conservation, climate change mitigation, and livelihoods improvement. Now, anywhere in Uganda where you operate, you'll be able to generate climate benefits or even livelihood benefits. So in order to make the 3 coincide, we locate our programs in high biodiversity areas. So our programs are around Queen Elizabeth National Park, Rwenzori Mountains National Park, Murchison Falls National Park and all the forests around there, Mount Elgon and all the wetlands and forests around there, and then recently northern Uganda. So those are areas of operation. So what we do is we work with communities that we support to enter into co-management arrangements with those protected areas. So we would like the planting of trees on private land to also contribute to reducing pressure from a specific protected area. So we come up with a vision with the community that clearly specifies what their impact to the protected area is going to be, but also what the contribution on the private land is going to be.
You talk of the 5 landscapes. What are these landscapes, and Where are these beneficiaries? What are those spots where they are?
So our model is based on the understanding that development does not have to be in competition with conservation. So what we do is we make nature investable. We come up with a business case for a smallholder farmer, for example, to find the presence of trees to be an economically viable land use option. For tree growing, for example, to compete with things like sugarcane growing. So that's the model that we come up with. So we identify or create multiple opportunities for income generation. So every farmer that we work with has a land use plan, which also doubles as a business plan. So in that land use plan, the farmer has a management objective for the trees. They're not growing the trees because they are saving the world. They're growing the trees because they are producing, they are entering into a business of medicinal extracts, or fruit production, or fuel production, or timber production, or apiary. So that alone, most of the times, is economically viable. But the major barrier is the investment horizon. You know, whereas it takes you 3 months to grow beans and recover the money, it takes you 10 years, 15 years to benefit from a tree. So what we do is that we are able to get the farmer to work out a model that has multiple management objectives that will all translate into income generation, with each income kicking in at a different stage of the enterprise. So one of the ways we do it is to commodify the environmental services. Because the same farmer that is growing a tree for production of avocados or mangoes, that same tree is also sucking up carbon dioxide. That same tree is also stabilizing the soils and therefore producing watershed services. That tree is also inhabiting biodiversity and therefore producing biodiversity services. So one of the innovations that we have is to be able to put a monetary value to the service that is provided by the farmer, to put a monetary value to the climate regulation service through the carbon certification route, to put a monetary value for the conservation by putting what we call a biocredit on the work of the community, and also to put a monetary value to even the watershed services that are derived from the presence of trees on farm. So those services, we also work with companies, mostly in Europe and US, that have committed to having a zero net impact on the environment. So on an annual basis, they conduct a footprint of what their impact is, invest in initiatives that will enable the reduction of that impact, and whatever residual impact, they put a monetary value to it. So on an annual basis, those organizations send us, those companies send us what their footprint is and what the monetary value is that they've put on their footprint. On this other side, we have a database of farmers that are implementing a diversity of activities for their own livelihood strategies, but we quantify the environmental services that come out of it, and then we link the farmers to the companies that we work with in Europe and US. When a farmer is designing their own land use plan, they are also building it for resilience, because trees are very useful in building the resilience of the productive system. Just look at the farms where trees are. They normally are able to withstand droughts. They're also able to withstand even excessive rains in terms of floods and what have you, because the soils have been stabilized. But also, when you have forest cover on farm, the amount of runoff is reduced, but also the moisture retention is also improved. So, but also some of these trees are nitrogen fixers, so that the farmer is able to really benefit from the productivity of their own land. But then remember, these trees are providing a service for 25 years. What other enterprises do we have that really you invest once, and then the productivity is there for at least 25 years. So it's certainly sustainable. So it serves to build the resilience of the farmer, but also as the farmer is building their own resilience, they are offering a service to the rest of the world, and we are just enabling the farmer to also monetize that extra service they give to the rest of the world.
Well, ECOTRUST has become a pioneer in conservation, finance and carbon markets and all these other programs. How have these approaches transformed the lives of rural communities while protecting ecosystems around them?
You know, most of our smallholder farmers, their investment horizon is 3 months. You're planning, or at most 6 months, at most a year, that when I get this, I plant here, I will raise this, I will sell, I'll keep this seed for the next season. It doesn't normally go beyond that. But for a farmer to sit down and say, this is the land use I'm going to have for the next 35 years, for the next 25 years, that's not simple. Just being able to change your planning horizon from 3 months to 35 years, that's not simple. But farmers have built schools. Farmers come from never having saved to creating a circle that you and your friends are owning, a circle whereby the carbon payments are able to be to act as collateral for loan financing, a circle that is even able to buy land and construct a clinic where the members of the circle have an insurance. Even the government of Uganda is trying to come up with an insurance product for everybody, and they have not yet succeeded. But here we are with farmers that have created a clinic, and they've even come up with some insurance of sorts amongst themselves. It's really a transformational program that we are running.
You talk about that, and there comes in climate change. Are these sustainable?
Our tree planting program is mostly or mainly on native trees. Musizi, Musambia, Ugandan trees, Muvule, and so on and so forth, plus a few fruit trees. But by the time we started, there wasn't even literature in Uganda on how to grow those trees, because there are just too many of them in the forests. So the literature was how to manage the forests, but not how to grow them. Even how the seed is handled and how the saplings and what have you raised. So they've generated literature. They've generated information that now there is literature on how Ugandan trees are grown, and also even the carbon sequestration potential of those trees. Even when we were starting out, we started out with just one species, Musizi, because Musizi occurs everywhere. So we said, okay, let us experiment on Musizi. But the farmers are very experimental in nature. By the time we were 5 years down the road, they had come up with a system that is already experimenting more than 20 different tree species of Uganda. So they've taught us how to raise those trees. But there are very many other things, like also all these other products. The idea of collateralizing carbon credits, it came from them. So because we have an arrangement where on a regular basis farmers do what they call an achievement road journey. They draw an achievement road journey. So they draw the things they've been able to achieve and what enabled them to achieve. So through that process, we are able to pick up on the innovations that farmers have. But also they have things like ecological indicators. You know, they have things like, oh, when you see those ants coming out, you know it's about to rain. You know, they have things that are coming from indigenous knowledge or traditional knowledge that are able to tell us about the health of a habitat, which are not exactly written in the books. So there is so much that the farmers have taught us.
Uganda continues to face deforestation, wetland degradation, pollution, and other climate-related issues, disasters. What's the state of environment in Uganda, and what concerns you the most? Uganda continues to face deforestation, wetland degradation, pollution, and these other climate-related disasters. From your perspective, what is the current state of our environment, and what concerns you the most?
What concerns me the most really is that whereas the people that are at the forefront of the disaster and the pain are investing so much in trying to protect it, the rest of us who are in Kampala use the polythene bags, clog the waterways, we drive the cars, we run the industries, we are the land grabbers, we are the ones converting forest into sugarcane, into buildings and building in wetlands, and yet we continue thinking that the local communities need mindset change. So we waste a lot of resources. We have a country, if you read the national development plans and so on and so forth, it is very clear that we are a nature-dependent organization. But the approach and the attitude is not to manage nature as an asset, but to manage it as a source of raw material, So for me, the lack of realization that these resources are not infinite, that we need to handle them as an asset that you invest in, because when you have a house and it's giving you rental income, you repair it, you make sure it's maintained. Whenever one tenant leaves, you paint it, you refurnish it, you make it more attractive for the next tenant. But the way we deal with nature, we extract, we destroy, we leave that, we go to the next person. So for me, that is what kind of like disturbs me the most. We realize that we are dependent on these resources, but somehow we lack the motivation to treat them like the assets they are, and therefore invest in enabling that those assets continue to sustain us.
As a woman on the conservation front line, you're championing climate action as well. What do you think has let down our biodiversity, our environment? Is it policies? Is it impunity? What's the problem?
I think we have very good policies. We have very good policies. Normally, even in those international events, there is a lot of benchmarking on Uganda's policies. There is a lot of lessons. Many of these African countries borrowed their policies from Uganda. So when you look into the books of Uganda, and even in government, you have very well-intentioned people that have stewarded those policies. But I think that the biggest problem is the lawlessness, the impunity, but which has also given some kind of apathy in the whole society. It's as if we are a hopeless, a hopeless society. So it's really when you read the books, they're very good books. When you listen to the proclamations, they're normally very good proclamations. And then we have a very low opinion of the stewards of nature. When we are very condescending when we are making our references to the communities. Many of us are who we are on the backs of smallholder farmers. Our parents, most of us are smallholder farmers. They did whatever little investment they did on those lands and sent us to school, and we became who we are. But when we come into these spaces, we are very condescending of them. We treat them like they are not capable of having a vision. We don't realize that we have pushed them into some poverty corner that makes them to resort into very, quick decisions, like slash, burn, grow something, raise, because of the poverty around them. So I think that hopelessness around, maybe that has been occasioned to them by poverty, as well as all these disasters that we have suffered, but also plus the people that have the level of maybe impunity that they have, we behave like, for us, or the people that have, we behave like we are immune to some of these challenges.
Despite all these challenges, where do you see hope? Are there encouraging trends or even success stories that convince you Uganda can still reverse environmental degradation?
Yes, we can reverse environmental degradation. We are not in the worst of positions. We're not in the worst of positions. We have a very good location. We have a very good location in underneath the equator. We don't need too much to grow things back. Many of the wetlands, especially like the wetlands, they don't even need any replanting or active restoration. If you could just remove remove whatever the barriers and whatever the challenges are. So we have it's not just a slogan that we are gifted by nature. We are actually indeed gifted by nature. You see, we are located in the center of Africa. So we have, for example, biomes that are characteristic of Sudan and Guinea. We have habitats that are characteristic of West Africa. We have habitats that are characteristic of East Africa, Southern Africa. There are some species that are, they call them Afro-Eurasian. They are Eurasian birds, but they migrate, and their southernmost range is Uganda. There are also birds that are Southern Africa, but they migrate, and their northernmost range is Uganda, and even on all this other side. So we have been given just our soils, and what they are able to do is, we don't need so much investment to be able to bring things back. We bought a piece of land in the Renzoris in 2001. It was a farm, it was a cattle farm. And then we developed a management plan and then a fundraising strategy. When we went back in 2006, the fundraising strategy was almost useless because the place had already converted itself back into a forest without even a slightest of an investment. So we now just removed the exotics, because as a cattle farm it had paddocks and they were being separated by eucalypts and other exotic trees that people knew how to plant. So all we had to do was to remove those exotics, and now everything has been covered 100% back to as a natural forest. So there is a lot of hope, if only we could purpose, and also if only we could find ways of making things like forestry or wetland an economically viable land use option. So yes, there is so much impact and suffering that the environment has taken, but there is also a lot of scope for recovery, and it does not need much. It needs commitment, proper planning, that sort of thing.
We know over the years ECOTRUST has worked with government, private sector, development partners, but also communities. What has made these partnerships successful, and where do you think needs improvement?
The partnership has been made successful because of the multi-sectoral approach. For you to be able to pull off such an innovation, you need to combine science with finance, with stewardship, with innovation and so many other things. So there isn't a single sector that is complete. So in any one of those things. So we have to work with the finance sector, for example, the banks and the microfinance and what have you. We have to work with technology, because the digital technology revolution has really given us opportunities to remove quite a bit of the drudgery that is involved in conservation and working with smallholder farmers. But it has also created even an opportunity for the youth to participate. For example, our monitoring platforms are manned by the youth, especially teenagers, and that group of 25-year-olds and below. So we have to work with that category, but also, of course, government provides the enabling environment, and we have been offering ourselves for piloting many of the policies that government comes up with.
Let's look at your major interventions and where you've put a sharp focus when it comes to implementation. Looking at some of ECOTRUST's flagship products across landscapes such as Queen Elizabeth, you've talked about it, Murchison Falls National Park and the entire conservation area, Semliki and Mount Elgon. Which initiatives have had the greatest impact, and what lessons can others learn from them?
Trees for Global Benefit has had the greatest impact. Trees for Global Benefit is a cooperative carbon offsetting scheme that links smallholder farmers to the global voluntary carbon market. So it has had the greatest impact and has provided the lessons almost for everything. Now we are producing biodiversity credits. We've also produced watershed credits. But Trees for Global Benefit has been the foundational program. So and it operates in all the 5 the 5 landscapes where we have where we operate. We also have a land trust program. In that land trust program, we are the owners of the land, or we support communities to set up communal land associations, and then they also have community reserves. The land, for example, if Trees for Global Benefit has enabled maybe 40,000 hectares, those 40,000 hectares are on private land, but in addition, those farmers also are in co-management arrangements for another like 60,000 hectares. So Trees for Global Benefits builds a social capital that where farmers are not just focusing on their own land, but they are also focusing on the conservation of protected areas. So it's been quite phenomenal in its impact.
As Executive Director, what has been your most difficult moment as you lead ECOTRUST?
One of them was when I just joined, because ECOTRUST was a big organization having many different cars and had offices in Kololo. So I thought it was a rich organization. And then when I joined, that's when the board, after I'd signed the contract, that's when the board explained to me that actually we've come to the end of our USAID funding, and we are trying to make a decision whether to close down the organization or to find somebody who will continue to make it a going concern. And then I was the only staff member that they had, because all the staff member had left with the closure of the projects, with the end of the projects. And thinking about the security where I'm coming from, where I was working, I had a salary, I didn't have to think about this. Now I have joined an organization that I thought was a rich organization with headquarters in Kololo, and it's going to collapse on me. I mean, even though I found it already with donor had pulled out. So the thought that it could die on me was quite challenging. But it's also very good to be young. When you're young, you don't quite perceive risks the same way as we. I don't think I would have taken up that organization right now with all the. Let's say I was not even yet 35 at that time. The gray hairs I have on my head started. That's when the gray hairs started showing up. But there were so many success. There were so many. You try this, it works out. You try this, it works out. That it was motivational also. So I think that was actually those first, the realization of what did I just get myself into.
Okay, if you had the opportunity to influence a policy or any major environmental policy or national investment today, what would it be and why?
I would influence the positioning of the local community, the positioning of the smallholder farmer, the positioning of the local community in all these policies. For the smallholder farmer or local communities not to be looked at as they are vulnerable, but for them not to be looked at as vulnerable people that need to be safeguarded and supported and helped, but instead to be looked at as the game changers, as the people that can actually, like when you look at agriculture, agriculture is one of the leading causes of deforestation in Uganda. And 80% of the land under agriculture is in the hands of smallholder farmers. And even when they say commercial agriculture, all those sugarcane and what have you, they depend on outgrowers. So the power to change how land is managed is really in the hands of smallholder farmers. So I would really, and I would not even be looking at all those things of mechanization and what have you, but I would recommend policies that look at the smallholder farmer for who they are, for what they bring onto the table, and then provide space for that innovation to be harnessed.
Let's talk about young people. The vast majority of the population in Uganda are young people, really, below the age of 30. Young people are increasingly passionate about climate action. What role do you see youth playing in shaping Uganda's environmental future?
Youth come with different assets. They come with different assets. They come with different skill sets. They come, for example, most youth are tech savvy, and there's a lot that we can harness from technology, information dissemination, products to, for example, marketing products, even mobilization, and so on. So there is need to harness the power of the youth, whatever it is that they have, as opposed to demanding that they behave like us, as opposed to demanding that whatever same contribution I make should be the one they make. I am BBC, born before computers. My approach to some of these things is different. So we need to be able to harness the power of the youth from the skills, the orientation, and so on that they have.
As ECOTRUST celebrates 27 years, what legacy do you hope the organization will leave for Uganda over the next 27 years?
Over the next 27 years, I'm really hoping that we will reverse degradation and deforestation. Because now, if it is that instead of being in a negative, to be in the positive, for us to have positive gains. So if we can get the negative away to zero and then even put it back like 10% on this other side.
Finally, when people hear the name ECOTRUST decades from now, what do you hope they will remember it for?
ECOTRUST will be remembered as one of those very innovative organizations that are able to combine science and finance to harness the stewardship, innovation, and trust of local communities and use it to protect Uganda's natural resources.
Pauline Nantongo Kalunda, Executive Director of the Environmental Conservation Trust of Uganda. Thank you for sharing your journey, your insights, your vision as ECOTRUST celebrates 27 years of community-led conservation. Thank you so very much for your precious time. And thank you so very much for watching from the time we started until this very minute. My name is Joshua Kagoro. Until next time, bye-bye.